Thank you, Lorenzo. Yes, tonight I'm going to speak about a subject that's very close to my heart, which is the 1994 Caribbean Cup Qualification Group A match between Grenada and Barbados. Quite fascinating. There was, in the Caribbean Cup qualification stages, they created groups of 3 teams. And so each team would play 2 games, and the top team in each group would progress to the next round. So after the first few games in Group A, the standings were as follows. Grenada were in first, Puerto Rico were in second, Barbados were in third. Puerto Rico had played 2 games. They played each of Grenada and Barbados, and were thus already eliminated. So, poor Puerto Rico. But Grenada were in first with a goal difference of +2 and points of 3. So now at the end of the round, if there was a tie on points, then the team with the biggest goal difference would advance. So the first 2 games had the scores as follows: Barbados 0, Puerto Rico 1. And Grenada 2, Puerto Rico 0, after extra time, AET. Now, there's an interesting point to make here, which will illustrate why I find this so fascinating and why it's become so close to my heart. Grenada only scored 1 goal in this match. Now, the reason they only scored 1 goal and they won 2-0 was because of a very unusual rule that was implemented for the Caribbean qualifier group stages, which meant that if you scored a goal in the first half, it was worth 1 goal. If you scored a goal in the second half, it was worth 1 goal. But the organizers did not want to have any tie games, any draws at the end of the group stages. So they implemented a rule that said if it was a tie game after normal time, in extra time, each goal would be worth 2 goals. And those 2 goals would instantly finish the game. So, as you can see, Grenada scored 1 goal in extra time and instantly won 2-0. It's unclear why this rule was implemented, but I guess it was to make it more exciting. I don't know. If you want to think about this programmatically, this basically means there are 3 variables, although in practice, in the original version of football, this should actually probably be a constant rather than a variable. And you have goal equals 1, fine. You have the current score, integer, and a boolean, a true or false, of whether a goal has been scored. And when you have a goal scored, the current score gets added, or the current score gets +1 goal. Now, this rule implements a new variable, the boolean of extra time, and if extra time, goal is equal to 2. In all other situations, goal is equal to 1. So in the final game, Grenada versus Barbados, Barbados needed to win by 2 goals in order to progress out of the group stages. All other situations, so Grenada losing by 1 goal, or of course Grenada winning, would mean Grenada would progress. After 82 minutes, the score was Barbados 2, Grenada 0. Barbados had done it. It scored 2 goals. They'd done it. They were progressing. They were 8 minutes away from progressing out of the group directly with a goal difference of +1 and 3 points. However, you can guess what happened next. Grenada scored in the 83rd minute, instantly changing the table, putting Grenada in first place of the group and Barbados in second because they had a greater goal difference. Now, if you go back to our original chart, the gray time represents, and I actually measured out the pixels on this, the gray part represents the part of the game that has been played. And as you can see, there's a tiny sliver of time remaining in which Barbados can score the 1 goal they need in order to win by 2 goals. But scoring a goal in football is really hard. I mean, like the average game scores about 2.5, 2.6 goals usually in most leagues. And that means that, it's incredibly hard to score a goal, to just say, okay, we're going to go score a goal right now. And if you go and try and score a goal and push everybody forward, you're leaving yourself very exposed at the back. So they didn't quite manage. They tried a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. They tried to score in that last tiny sliver of time, but they didn't manage it. But has anybody worked this out yet? They worked out that there are these 2 extra big blocks of blue unplayed time still remaining, but there's only one way to get there. The only way to get there is if the game is tied. If the game is tied, it unlocks 30 more minutes for Barbados to score the 1 goal that they would need to get 2 goals and win by 2 goals. And so in the 87th minute, this happened. This is 2 Barbados players. He just kicked the ball into his own net. I don't think the goalie was really aware of this, but that player had worked out that if it was a tie game, 2-2, they had 30 extra minutes in which to score 1 goal, which is much easier then 6 minutes to score 1 goal. However, this unlocked an entirely different situation that the Grenada players worked out pretty quickly. So for Grenada attacking this way, if they scored in that goal, the goal they had been aiming at that whole half, then of course they would win. They would win 3-2, and they would get 6 points in the group, and they would advance. However, if they turned around and went and scored in their own goal, they would lose 3-2, but be winning on goal difference in the group. So 4 minutes remaining at the end of the game, Grenada worked out that they could score in either goal and progress. Whereas Barbados couldn't let a goal in either side. Even if they went and they scored, they would still lose. And so for 4 minutes, Grenada was attacking on both ends of the pitch. Barbados was defending on both ends of the pitch. In possibly the most unusual remix of football I have ever heard of. And doesn't it sound like the best game? That's just like the most amazing game design in the world. Just all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's unlock 2 goals for one team and 0 goals for the other team. What does that change? Isn't that fascinating? That's why this is so close to my heart. You'll be very happy to know that the final score was indeed Barbados 4-2, because 4 minutes into extra time, they scored 1 goal, they got 2 goals for it, they won 4-2, they got the 2 goal difference they need, and they progressed out of the group. I have no idea how they finished in the tournament, because actually the rest of the tournament isn't that interesting. But this was fascinating. So thank you very much.